Welcome to the Woodshed with Cody Wood on the Equus Radio Network, where some amazing guests stop in, share their stories, and have a few laughs along the way. From the rodeo road to everyday life, it's all part of the ride. Here's your host, Cody Wood.
It has been a great day. We've had some great guests come here in the Woodshed and join us throughout the day, and we are going to cap things off with another big-time, fantastic opportunity to learn a little bit more about this great sport from one of the iconic voices in all of pro rodeo. This episode, though, going to be brought to you by Apex Next Evolution. If you are looking for a great, healthy alternative to whether it's an energy drink or adding those extra electrolytes, or even if you need a little bit of help with a little bit too much to drink here in Las Vegas, they got a great new product. So thank you to Apex Next Evolution for bringing us this great episode here with our next guest. But folks, if you've been to the National Western Stock Show in Denver, maybe the Days of 47 Rodeo in Salt Lake City, or many PBR events throughout this great country, you have heard this man's voice, one of the great rodeo announcers in all of rodeo, 3-time National Final Steer Open Finals announcer, 8-time PBR Finals announcer, and a WPRA Announcer of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Grover.
Hi, Cody. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you know what I just realized? I just said ladies and gentlemen.
We've talked about that.
I know it. And it's so funny because I don't know. Maybe I have throughout this podcast, but not announcing. But that just hit me, though, right there.
That's funny. We'll have to tell that story a little bit. Yeah.
That's right. But, Scott, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been a great week. It's been a great NFR. You have been awfully busy here at the junior NFR and watching the future of our sport.
Yeah.
And coming into round 7, it's going to be another great night.
Man, the NFR has been great. The junior NFR has been great. Congratulations to you for building your brand out here and having this podcast and all the things that you've been able to do in the past 2 years. I think you've been enjoying watching me. I've been enjoying watching you. So your career is growing, and I'm proud of you.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, man, because you've played an integral part in that, honestly. But I sure do appreciate it in general. And here we are, and like I said, you've had a lot of different opportunities to announce in some of the greatest venues in this country. Whether it's down at Dallas Cowboy Stadium or even just representing the PBR at such a high level, and now being the iconic voice of the National Western Stock Show in Denver, and in the Days of 47, the list goes on and on. But when you got into this, into announcing and the excitement of what it brings to educate the fans, I mean, what did that path look like for you to begin with, and how did you get to this point?
Man, I'd like to say I believed I was going to be at this spot someday, and you always dream of doing big things. But when I started, it was to be involved in rodeo one way or another because I was out of options. So I grew up in a little town of Marville, Kansas, up on 36 highway, and I mean that's 100 people tops, and it's a farming community. There's not a whole lot of cowboys around there, and my mom and dad took me to a rodeo when I was about 4 years old, and I was hooked. And the funniest story is that I lived in a town of 100, but we had 2 different churches. Okay, and my mom and dad went to 2 different churches. My mom went to the Christian church. My dad went to the Methodist church, and the Methodist preacher loved rodeo, so he got the Pro Rodeo Sports News, and he would send it home with my dad. So I learned how to read. I like to say I learned how to read by reading the sports news. And then when I, got into high school, finally got a horse, I had some people around that would help me learn how to rope, but I wasn't very good. So when I went to college in Beatrice, Nebraska, I roomed with some guys that had been around rodeo. They'd helped with some productions, and we had went out to this lady's house every Sunday and helped her with junior rodeos. And finally one day I was like, man, I got to do something. Like I can't just let this rodeo dream die and just be a fan of it my whole life. So I told her that, hey, I more or less told her I didn't think her announcer was very good and I wanted to announce the rodeo. And she said, well, that's the guy I hire. And lo and behold, he got sick the next week. I got a job, and it was kind of over. Yeah. I started announcing and doing junior rodeos and did them for a long time. And then I got a chance with Jimmy Crother in Kansas and Steve Kraft doing their rodeos. And then, the next thing you knew, I was like, man, I kind of need to branch out a little bit. So went to Texas, did some amateur rodeos there. And Tommy Lucia saw me in Whitesboro, Texas, and Wellington, Texas, excuse me. And I got my card and Tommy Joe hired me for the World's Toughest, and then I quit teaching school because I was an educated school teacher, and it just snowballed into this deal of all of a sudden I had enough rodeos where I could quit teaching school, or had to, because I couldn't do them all during the wintertime.
Yeah.
And God has just truly set out a path for me of what I'm supposed to do. Plus, I put on the blinders and said, this is what I'm going to do. Nobody's going to stop me from doing this. And no matter how big I make it or not big I make it, I'm going to try this. And I just didn't let anybody stand in my way. And if you told me no, that's fine. But it gave me motivation to find somebody that would tell me yes.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm still looking for people to tell me yes.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
It never stops.
It doesn't stop. And that goes right into what I was going to say. I mean, like I said, you've been doing so many great events, and in not just in a rodeo, but in the PBR as well. I mean, when it comes to a lot of those PBR events and some of the different pockets of this country, some which have rarely ever see rodeo. And if they do, it's the one PBR a year that they go to. But, the ceiling is still a long ways off. I mean, you've got a lot of, it's just getting warmed up right now, and you can see that you're finding your stride.
Well, and after all this time, I've been to Canada, I've been to Maine, I've been to California, I've been all over the country doing this. And it's still kind of, I guess, surreal a little bit that people know who I am and they recognize my voice and things like that. It's crazy to me. Or when I, have people talk about the job that I'm doing or whatever it is, I still just think, man, I'm just a kid from Kansas, just trying to make it in the rodeo business, and like I say, I've still got a lot more things that I want to achieve. I haven't hit the ceiling yet of where I want to go.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I mean, I've had the opportunity now, to really get to know you over these last few years. We kind of get into the education piece a little bit, but I mean, I'll always remember the first time, and I don't even know why I even called you, to be honest, or how I even got to know, but I got your phone number, called you out of the blue. You never heard my name, knew who I was for nothing, and gave me 30 minutes on the phone right out the gate. And, I was just starting announcing, this is, I guess I'm right at 8 years now. I'm going into my 8th year of ever announcing. And a big part of, me just being able to kind of put 2 and 2 together was that first conversation and all the conversations we've had since. But, right now, talking about your career and things, and one of the things that I absolutely love and share a little bit with you is the love for steer roping. I come from a bull riding family, so I wasn't exposed to it early on, but I've had the opportunity to announce a lot of them now, and those are some great guys. And I mean, that's cowboy now, and I've really found a love for that. And here you are coming off of your 3rd national final steer roping, this time with Corey Keith. It was a fantastic weekend for you guys. Tell us a little bit about your experience, your 3rd time back.
So steer roping's kind of a crazy little story too, because I worked my first PRCA rodeo for Jimmy Crowther in Salina, Kansas, and him and Jerry Nelson put the rodeo on together, and I announced it with Terry Starnes. Well, in the crowd that night was David and Don Petty, who are the chairmans of the rodeo in Claremore, and they came up and talked to me and said, "Hey, we want to bring somebody in with Clem to announce the rodeo. Would you like to come be our horseback guy?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, I'd love to." So I got to meet Clem McSpadden for the first time and work with him, and setting with Clem and learning steer roping and understanding it, I became a fan of it overnight. Mostly because of, like you said, it's the most cowboy thing in the world. I mean, rodeo started with 2 events. You tripped steers and you rode broncs. That was it.
Yeah.
We didn't ride bulls to begin with. That didn't make any sense. Still doesn't make any sense. But so when I started doing that, and Clem was the voice of the national final steer roping. I mean, he just was. He knew all of those guys. He knew all the horses. He knew the backstories. And one of my biggest goals when I got my PRCA card, because I set goals like you're supposed to. I wanted to do a circuit finals. I wanted to do the national circuit finals. I wanted to do the national final steer open, and I wanted to be announcer of the year. Okay, those right off the bat are my 4 goals. I've added a 5th goal of that now. I want to do the NFR. Okay, but I didn't know if that was in reach when I first started. But I always dreamed of being an announcer of the year. And so, pretty early in my career, I got to circuit finals. And then I got the RNCFR in 2014. And then 2017, they finally let me do the National Final Steer Open. And I still remember the day of picking that buckle up and wiping the water away from my eyes because I had made it. I had done what I wanted to do. And then I didn't get it back. I was like, oh boy, did I mess up? Did I not do a good job? And then the last 2 years I've had it back. And steer ropers it's a family. It's a different kind of family than and then maybe a lot of different groups of rodeo cowboys, and they all root for each other. It's just it's such a pure sport, and to be able to go in there and be entrusted with that sport after the years of the guys like Kurt Robinson, of Clem McSpadden, Charlie Throckmorton, those guys that have it so many years in a row, have so many of those buckles, to even be among that list. And the list of guys that have announced the National Final Steer Open pretty small. The NFR is pretty small too. Yeah. So to be able to do it once was huge. To be able to do it 3 times, I'm blown away by it. It's just I don't know. I love that event. And this year was, just lights out. Watching Riley and Cole go to battle every night was. That was the best finals I've ever announced. So it was so much fun. And Corey knocked it out of the park and did a great job on his first one. So, if, it's one of those deals where every time you hope they let you go back, but if they don't, man, you better be just proud that you have one of those, because there's a lot of guys in this business they'll never have this buckle. They'll never get an NFR code, that are very deserving of having one, that have worked their time, done their time, and worked hard. So to have 3 of them, I'm pretty blessed.
Yeah, and you do such a good job with it. Like I said, you can tell that you've had that past experience and understand it, because it's, obviously at your level and a lot of these other guys' level, obviously you can announce anything, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's its own beast, right, when it comes from an announcing standpoint. And I really enjoy announcing the Steer Open. I mean, in a way, it's really fast, and a lot of numbers and different things, especially when you start getting into it, and especially at the NFSR, right? You're having 10 rounds of the NFR in a 2-night performance. So you got rounds, 1 through 5 and 6 through 10 back to back, and so it's a beast to announce. But it also makes it awfully fun.
It is, and you prepare differently for it than you would for a normal rodeo. And what's funny is you have all this information, right? And you have 10 rounds to get it out. Yeah. So many times as announcers, we want to try to get everything out on the page. If we wrote it down before, we got to say it.
You got to say it.
Yeah. Well, now I get to use that throughout the day, throughout the 2 nights. So it makes you more patient. It allows you to tell the stories, to kind of search for different ones, really tell the stories about the guys where, hey, I can only tell you how many times he won Deadwood, whatever. But if I can tell you about his kids and the horses that he's riding, how he nursed that horse back to health, whatever it is, or the technique he's going to go for on day number 2. That's been a good experience for me, because even after this, I think next year starts my 21st season as a PRCA member. I'm still learning. Okay, we're still learning how to be better announcers, and so to have an event like that every year, and then this year to kind of be the lead. The first year I did it, I got to lean on Charlie. Mm-hmm. Second time I did it, I got to lean on Jody.
Yep.
Well, this time I was the lead. Like, I was the guy that I was the veteran of the group, so I was able to, I had to look at it a little bit different, where, I had to have a lot more bullets in the chamber just in case something happened.
For sure. And you guys did a great job with it. And I mean, boy, the ropers, they came to rope. It was you couldn't have asked for a better storyline.
No, it was so good
to finish things out. And so, you and Corey did another amazing job. And I'm sure you got another one of those gold buckles in your future. But, a lot of those opportunities you've had over the course of these last couple of years, a couple other, myself, I'm, Denver, live in Cheyenne, Wyoming now, but Denver, Evergreen, Colorado is home, and that rodeo is awfully special to me. And for you to now be the iconic voice of the National Western is a big deal in a lot of different ways. One of the great rodeos on the calendar year with the PRCA. You're coming in. You've been there a couple years now, and boy, you are rolling now. And how's that feel? To be able to go in there and click the mic on inside the National Western for the 17, 18 days.
Yeah. So 16 days, there's 28 rodeo performances plus a kickoff dinner. So I've got 29 shows in 16 days. If you've never been to Denver, I don't know how you even explain it. Like there's iconic buildings in the world. Okay, there's Madison Square Garden. There's I think Jim Nordic Arena in Oklahoma City is one of those kind of historic arenas. You walk into the Denver Coliseum and the seats are old and they're wood, and there's concrete everywhere. And on Saturday night in the barrel race, it's the loudest building you've ever been in your life. Like, I have to plug my ears because it hurts. And it's cold, and it's cold one day and warm the next day. And it's the first major indoor rodeo of the year. So you're doing a major, okay? Golf has majors, rodeo has majors too. I don't think we give them enough credit to how major those rodeos are when it comes to the course of the year. And it's the first one. So everybody's coming off the NFR. You're coming off of that buzz. Christmas is over. You're ready to get back to rodeoing again. And when Leon asked me to come the first time to do Colorado versus the World and the Mexican rodeo, I was shocked, scared to death. Okay. And then, unfortunately, Boyd starts to lose his voice. I get to come in and help him and then get to work with him for the last couple of years. And so when I was student teaching in Uniontown, Kansas, we took kids to the National Western. That was one of our trips.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I remember, I can almost tell you the seat that I was sitting in. Lights go dark. Spotlight comes around, hits Boyd, and Boyd goes, "Hello, Denver." And the place goes nuts. And I went, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do right there. And it was like on that day, I made the decision, okay, I might not make it to the National Western, but I'm going to make it somewhere in this deal. So then for everything to come full circle and to get to hear that out of a crowd, it's like, man, now you made it, and it's one of those deals where I don't know. It's my favorite rodeo. Like, I don't know. And it's long, and it's a lot of performances. And I mean, Saturdays, you're three. You have three perfs. And no other rodeo does that anymore. Like, every other rodeo has went to almost one a day, and maybe if it's a big day, you'll have two. But nobody does as many performances as they do there in a row. So you have to be prepared mentally. You have to be prepared physically. You kind of don't sleep. You just have numbers running through your head nonstop. And
because when you're, I gotta imagine when you're that many performances and back to back, and the studying that goes in that the rodeo fan doesn't even think about. The amount of studying and notes that you've got to prepare as an announcer, and I mean that's a lot to handle. And
I start the day after Christmas for that rodeo because normally we'll have the least contestant list by Christmas.
Oh,
because the qualifier's over. So a lot of times over Christmas break, I will be doing notes on my ProCom sheets. And then when we figure out what the draw is, which we only get the draw for the first half of the rodeo, and then there's a second draw that happens second half of the rodeo.
Yeah. So
you really only get half of your day sheets done, and then you start on the next part. But you also have to remember there's 3 days of PBR in there. There's a event called Colorado versus the World, which is an invitational rodeo that happens the first day. Like opening day's 3 performances. and then there's a Mexican rodeo in there. So it's a lot of preparation. And then it's a tournament, so everybody's back to back. So you have a bracket A, bracket whatever it is, and then you have a semifinal on that last Saturday. So you have 3 semifinals at 8, 3, and 11, and then you come back the next day for the championship round on Sunday. So it's just, it's just rodeo at its purest to me. I don't know. I love it. I love the workload of it and the time and everything else. And maybe I'm still new to it, but I love going to Denver.
Yeah,
Something about it.
And like I said, just having a chance to get to know you these last few years, you can tell you were right there in your element,
Yep.
though, with that workload and
Yep.
and the craziness of a rodeo like that, and having that many performances. And so I can't wait to get there again. You know, I mean, here we are. I mean, basically, we're just a month away.
It's a month away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it should be another great national Western. But you know, and that's obviously one major you have. Another major that you know, coming full circle, that I've had the opportunity. I have a minuscule part in it, but the opportunity to announce with you at the Days of 47 Rodeo in Salt Lake City, and what Tommy Joe has created out there, that is another special rodeo, and that each performance, each night, you know, is just magical in a lot of ways from a sports perspective.
They're a world class rodeo, and to me, that's a destination rodeo to go to. I mean, that the way that arena is built, I mean, it's like a coliseum. It's an outdoor coliseum. I mean, it's amazing. You're right on top of people, are right on top of you. The very best guys in the world are all that's invited to it, and it plays such a major role in the course of the regular season, especially that time of the year. And then again, coming full circle. I mean, Tommy Joe gave me my first pro events, and now you go almost 20 years later, and we're back working. You know, getting to work big rodeos with him. He helps produce Denver, and then produces the Utah Days of 47, and then you come in and we get to work together during the team pennant, and so that and that part of the show, we do a team pennant like that in Denver, do one at Salt Lake City, and man, they're a crowd favorite, and it works out so good. And like I said, so that's been fun to watch. Again, you and how you've came in, even not having that many years, and coming in and being very comfortable with us there, knowing how big that stage is.
It's a lot, you know, and man, I love it. I love it. I mean, I honestly fell into this and did not realize how much I was going to love it, you know, but then that moment, like I said, there's, you know, little 11,000 plus or whatnot on a Saturday night. And, you know, to be honest, it's a lot too, because I also have to think about everything that's going on the other side of it. So so it was a little challenging those first couple of nights. And, but man, you know, obviously announcing with you and a couple times with Anthony there has just been such a blessing to get that firsthand experience from an extremely high level, right? Not just a high level. I mean, we're talking about the very top. And so it is not beyond me of how fortunate I am to be able to have that opportunity, and for a multitude of ways, you know, and just to even work with Tommy Joe, right, and to learn the production side of things. And so I'm so fortunate and grateful for that. But and you and Anthony do such a good job there. I mean, you know, there's combinations in anything, but especially in announcing, you know, when you have dual co-announcers, and sometimes, you know, whether it's the inflections in your voice or whatnot, you know, there's a definitely magic happening, and you and Anthony are a really good combination.
We have been good together, and a lot of that is friendship outside the arena, and I think a lot of that is I probably co-announce more events than anybody else in Western sports. You know, when you think about what I've done with the PBR and then the rodeos I've got to co-announce. So, and I've always tried to make it a very conscious effort of, you're going to know when I'm done talking, you know, and fluctuating my voice to do those kind of things. But yeah, I think Anthony and I have gotten along very, very well there. And a lot of that is just good relationship outside the arena. You know, it's just like working with clowns. When you have a better relationship with the guy you're working with, that's going to come across the crowd. Plus, man, he's done such a great job. You know, I mean, 3-time announcer of the year now, and just doing the NFR. I mean, I'm so proud of them, and I owe so much to the Lucia family anyway, just for the success in my career. So to get to work with him and Tommy Joe, that's a day in paradise right there.
It is. It's a win. It's a win for sure. And he's been doing a great job at the NFR. You can tell he's found his stride.
Absolutely. He's found it.
He's settling in. But all this success that you've had, and you still have a lot more success here to come, and with inside announcing in this world. But, you know, it's an interesting thing being in this contract personnel as well. There's a lot of interesting dynamics, and it's not a normal business setting, if you will. And but now you found a passion and going back to your original roots of education and yourself and Jesse Knutson here with the Big Top Rodeo, the announcing music directing school. And, not just myself, obviously, because I've benefited it drastically from you over the last few years, but these clinics now, you've had 3, your 4th one getting ready to come up here in February. Tell us a little bit about Big Top and everything that's going on with you and Jesse.
Yeah, so Big Top wasn't designed for announcers. That was never the plan. The plan was I was going to help contestants talk better on camera.
Gotcha.
And that was the whole plan. And I'm going to help youth contestants to all the way to the pros prepare for interviews or prepare for the NFR, prepare to get sponsors. It was going to be a full gamut of, we had been agents. My wife and I had been agents for some bull riders for a few years, and kind of found out that wasn't really the game we wanted to play. And so we were sitting at, I think, PBR finals, and I'm like, oh, it was teams. And I was watching some of the new players that weren't comfortable on camera. And I'm like, somebody's got to teach them how to talk.
Yeah.
Well, so I kind of worked with a couple guys, and then I kept having announcers reach out and say, hey, can I do a one-on-one session with you? Or, hey, I want to send you an opening. Can you break it down and we can talk about it? And we had kind of had those conversations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm one of them.
Before I ever said, hey, I'm going to have to start charging you money for this now. Yeah. And so I would have somebody send me an opening, I'd break it down, and I'd go, hey, here's what I think you need to work on. And then I kind of got to just talking with Becky. I'm like, man, what if I put on a school? Like, nobody's doing it anymore. Chad Nicholson's passed away. Zook Dove had a school. Sam Howery had a school. Andy Stewart had a school. Doing all this, having no idea that McKee's going to have a broadcasting school. I think we're putting this together all at the same time, and we have no idea what each other's doing. Okay. And, but knowing that when his came about, I'm not teaching you how to be a broadcaster. I'm teaching you how to be a rodeo announcer. And so then, I kind of threw it out there on a leap of faith, and I asked Jesse if he would be interested in teaching the music side of it, because Jesse is such a student of the sport of rodeo. He knows rodeo inside and out. He knows the rule book. He knows the ins and outs of the business, and he's one of my best friends in the world, And so I thought the combination of us two together to put this seminar on was good. First school, man, sells out. And we're still learning. Like, what are we going to do? How do we do this? And, put everybody through the courses of what we've done. And we've changed things since that first school, which everybody's going to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. First time you do it, you're not sure. But it was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in this business. And I don't think it was because I taught guys how to announce rodeos. I think it was because they left there with confidence. They left there with confidence of, how can I step out on a limb and ask somebody to give me a job? Or can I be better at the rodeos I'm going to? Or we had a lot of talks about faith at those seminars. And it was something that was not the plan. That wasn't the course we were going to go. But God has a way of finding his way into the conversation. And so every morning we opened up with a prayer. And then the next thing I know, we're praying 3 or 4 times a day with that first group. And, and we're constantly talking about faith. And like I said, that wasn't necessarily the plan, but that was how that first one went. And then the night we had them all, one night we have everybody out to the ranch, and we have a big meal, and we just get to hang out and just kind of be brothers, And I think that the connection that everybody's made with each other has been one of the most rewarding things that have came out of the school too, where guys can say, hey, you know what, I'm from Michigan and I can't really go to Louisiana, but I know somebody that can. Or, hey, I can't go there, but you know what? I got a guy, his name's Cody. Oh, yeah. You need to hire Cody. And I've got guys that are still they're going to be lifelong friends. And we had the first one, we had 12 announcers. And on the last day of the seminar, you have to announce a rodeo on film. Okay. Well, the first seminar, I kind of went about it wrong, and I made them think it was a competition. So, I mean, they're like, They're out for blood.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could see it.
But what I also found out after the fact was there was a couple guys that were kind of struggling. Well, these guys came over and helped them. And we had this, hey, I'm going to help you get ready for your rodeo because I know about the rodeo that you drew. Because we actually have rodeo names that you draw. So whether it's Gary, New York, or
awesome.
Mobridge, South Dakota, and we want you to find something about those towns to integrate what you would do as an announcer. And so we had guys that would go, hey, you know what? I'm done with mine, but I'm going to come help you. And I was like, that's what it's about. Like, nobody helped me when I got started. Okay, when I got started, it was more of a, I'm going to keep you over there. Okay. There was a man by the name of Max Stoll, and he announced rodeos for Jimmy Carruthers when I was growing up. And he lived when I was teaching school in Council Grove, he would have lived 30 some miles away from me in Manhattan. Yeah, so I would drive up and I would spend time with him to learn. And I don't know how much he would teach me a little bit about the business, more just telling me old stories about rodeo. But he was the only guy that I felt really gave me a chance. And then when I got my PRCA card, it was even less guys that wanted to help me. So I kind of always been one of those guys where, man, if I can help somebody, then why not? And if they take a job from me someday, then it wasn't my job. And that's okay. Like, why not prepare the business to grow and be better? And we have a lot of guys that want to be announcers right now. Like, it's kind of the new hot thing. Like, oh, hey, I'm 20. I'm going to be an announcer. You know, it used to be the guys who were 40 were going to be announcers. Yeah. That's not the way anymore. And I don't mind helping them. I want to help them. I want them to succeed because I want some superstars to come out of my deal. You know, selfishly, I want to be known as the guy that has taught some of them. But also, I just want guys to have success. And we're so exposed right now. And thank God to the Cowboy Channel. We have so many more rodeos now on TV and on the web and everything else. Well, we need quality announcers to go do those.
So I was just going to say, I mean, we have such a limelight on us now. And as an announcer, you know, you're kind of the focal point. You're the face of that rodeo in a sense. You're darn sure the voice. Yep. And so it's a big responsibility. Yep. And so that's why, honestly, for a multitude of ways, but just as a rodeo fan and as somebody in rodeo, really appreciate what you're doing just from that perspective, because like I said, it's definitely been a big time benefit, and I can speak directly to it.
Well, and there's more than just announcing the rodeo, right? There's helping 100%. Set up the production log, because people look at you and they go, what are we going to do next? Yeah. Well, okay. And that's why I'm such a stickler on telling you guys, hey, when you go to your rodeos, say, hey, we need to have a production meeting. And I need a list of what we're going to do so that I can put it out for everybody to have. And some people are going to go, man, that's whoa. We don't need all that. Well, but if it helps you do your job and they know what everybody's supposed to do, well, then all of a sudden you have a pro rodeo. Oh yeah. You have a professional event. And like I had a guy he's got 25 years experience. He came to the school, and over the summertime, all of these committees said, man, you've gotten better. And he's like, well, let me tell you why. He said, I got a whole new confidence this spring because of this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've got guys we had a kid in the first one from Florida, and he's like, man, there's just no way they're never going to pay this money, and they're never going to do this. We've never had a production log. We're not going to do it. And I was like, then let me teach you how to ask the questions that we need. Yeah. And he calls and he goes, hey man, I booked 5 rodeos today. Great. You know, and there's been some places where he's went and they haven't taken as well to it. And other places are like, yeah, we needed this help, you know? So a lot of people, and we have a big job to do. We really do. We are the voice of the rodeo, but we're the conductor of the orchestra. So if we don't put our hands in the right positions at the right time, then the trumpet doesn't play when it's supposed to, and the drum guy, he's off. Yeah. You know, we are the conductors of the orchestra. We're not the most important part of the rodeo, but we do have to orchestrate,
connect the dots,
some of it, how it goes.
Yeah, and you can't build a house without the blueprints. No. And so you, like to your point about having, you know, just that plan in place, and and whether it's for yourself or the whole rodeo, but like, you know, I can, you know, like I said, mention in some of those guys, you know, that are starting to have those successes that like, and you and I've chatted about it offline. And like I said, it wasn't like I just came to your school and it was my first time working with you. Obviously, I mean, over the course of those last few years, I'd have a question and you'd answer my question. Next thing you know, I would immediately interact that with inside what I was doing. But even so, I'd already had the benefit of working with you for a few years, and then coming to the school, you know, I came out of there and immediately had an impact, right? You know, it was almost as if my voice had even gotten louder in a sense, you know, not vocally, but you know what I mean? I just was having such a different approach to the rodeo. And I know for a fact that my intros got better. You know, my openings this summer are better now than that they ever have been. And it happened immediately, you know, after the school. And so, you know, if somebody's out there looking to be an announcer, or you've been announcing for a long time, you know, you can benefit from it. And not that I've been doing it for a long time, but in my short, you know, 7 years here, going on 8, I've, you know, really tried to work hard, and I've done a lot of different events, a lot of different types of events. And I just can't thank you enough, not just for all those other things, but man, that school, it just was so great, you know. And then obviously my brother-in-law and my sister specifically too, you know, had the benefit of working with Jesse on the music directing side, you know, and I can, you know, kind of speak to that in the sense that, you know, she went to the school as a music director, and she does well. She's done a lot, actually. You know, she's been behind the board a lot, but never really had any guidance, you know. And my first time getting to work with her was during the NFSR this year, you know, as we do the seniors during the day, and boy, she had a confidence about her that was ready to roll, almost a little too much. You know, she had a 60-second hot song, you know, that was made for a PBR, you know, and those old boys were, what are we listening to? You know, but she was ready to go to a PBR, you know, and so, but yeah, Jesse and you do just such a great job educating, right? Like I've mentioned it multiple times, but you can tell that you're naturally an educator and a teacher, and Jesse as well. But you know, so if you're a music director too, like, I mean, he gets into it. He gets into the actual board itself, when and when to hit something and everything else, and having a split, right? When announcers were in one room, the music directors in the other. And when we came together and put together an actual rodeo, like you said, you guys did such a wonderful job of putting together, you know, different pro rodeos from across the country, and then having the opportunity to announce that with another music director. It was great, man. It took me a second. I you know, I'm not a traditional announcer in the sense that I kind of have to put a face on, to be honest. And so when I went to talk inside that room, I was like, okay, hang on, I gotta have to let
it's nerve-wracking. Like because like the first time we just made everybody do it. And then when we came back, Jesse goes, hey, we can't make them do anything we wouldn't do. So then I had to announce that mock deal at the beginning. And it's nerve-wracking for me because I'm not an in-your-face kind of guy either. I mean, I'm not a big talker when I go into the room. I don't need to be seen. I'm not that kind of guy. So, but you know, to your point of learning something, for as long as you had been announcing and the successes you already had, you could have easily said, hey, I'm good. But it's like any other business. Like if we were selling insurance or houses, whatever it is, you're going to have continuing education, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why would you not want to take advantage of some continuing education in the rodeo business? It's just like if you rope and you want to be better, well, you go to the best guys roping school, right? And I'm not saying that I'm the best announcer in the world, because I'm not, but we're throwing it out there, giving guys an opportunity to be better and to learn. And then, for us the first day of the school, we split everybody apart. And then the second day we bring everybody together, because announcers need to understand what music directors go through. And music directors need to understand what announcers go through, because a lot of times we end up fighting each other during a perf because the announcer feels like they have to get every single word out that we've written down on the page. The music director just wants their spot. And then all of a sudden we're fighting. When sometimes if announcers would just post a song in the right position, let the music come in and let the crowd have fun, man, we accomplished more than what we would have if we would have said, hey, he was second and killdeer.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't need to get that out. So which is again is something that I learned from PBR, because we use music a lot there, and don't feel like we necessarily have to talk all the time. So to find that middle ground, I guess, and to bring those two worlds together, and that's why we did it, and that's why we haven't added like a clown school and anything like that, because the music director and the announcers have to work as one. They are the first team, because I always say this to committees: the only person that is out there working more during the course of the rodeo than the announcer is the music director, because the music director actually probably showed up about an hour before the announcer did in that announcer stand to start the pre-show music.
Yeah.
And then we work until the last word is said, right? So we have to be a team and on the same level. So when we can learn then what each other needs and wants and communicate together, it makes the show so much better.
So much better. And I actually had the Jersey Jake was just here a bit ago, and got the chance to have that conversation. The combination between an announcer and a music director, and when it goes right, and you guys are feeling the flow together, and it's almost like you're communicating together in a sense. It just, you find that sweet spot.
It's powerful.
It really is.
So powerful.
It really is. And and I go back to one of the things you kind of hit on, the faith aspect of the school and everything that you kind of how it kind of fell into that a little bit, and that was so special. And it did kind of naturally occur, but at the same time, you guys did such a great job as a family. Even just welcoming, us into your home like that, and having a great meal like that there at your guys' place, which is just beautiful and such a cool spot to be. And I absolutely love your little chapel or whatnot. I mean, that's one of the coolest, most of just great little entities that you could ever have on a homestead. But, you and your family do such a great job hosting, and one of the things myself, having 3 kids and the challenges of trying to travel with the family and everything else, I think that's something that you could put a school on as well, is how to travel with all these kids and the wife and manage all that. You do such a good job of managing the family and the rodeo life and all in one.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm not sure I do a great job at it, but I appreciate that it looks like it. It's hard. It's so hard. Like when Becky and I got married and decided to have a family, we said we're going to do this together. Okay, I'm not going to go on the road and leave you guys at home. Now, is there times where you have to do that? Yes, especially like during the wintertime when I get to do PBRs. It's way easier for me just to fly out and fly back.
Yeah,
can't really take the motorhome on the road and try to make a big round around the country. It's just not going to work. And then, so we have a motorhome, blessed with a motorhome, trailer, pull a car behind, and pretty much the summertime hits, we go. That's getting a little bit more tricky now because Lano's, I've got a son named Statler, he's 11, Lano's, 9, Clemmy's 4, Lano's doing competitive gymnastics. We've now moved her to a different gym so that she can be better, and she's getting good.
Yeah,
so it's so my schedule is kind of we're kind of reining back on a little bit during the wintertime so that I can get to more meets and things like that. Maybe not taking as many weekends. And God knew I needed Denver. He knew I needed that, because that's a great check to have in January. They can give you a little bit of room where you don't have to take every single weekend. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
But then again, I think that as fathers and as men, we have a job to provide for our family, right? So, but there's a lot of different ways to provide for your family. We have a tendency to think it's all financially, but if you're not there as a dad and you're not present, then you're not providing for your family either.
What good is the finance?
So, so what good's the money you're bringing in if you're not ever there? And so I have made a conscious effort to, stay home more. Now, do I like that money? We all do. It's what makes the world go round. But we have to just make those, and especially now, like they're just at an age where it's just, man, it's hard to leave. It's hard to hear goodbye. And a cry on the phone or whatever it is, and so that's what's so special about the summertime when we do get to kind of go together and be on the road a little bit more and go. And and Statler and I get to go to a couple events on our own every year. We take off and fly, and he's working on some video work.
Oh man, it's so cool.
And he's doing such a good job
earlier in the week with the junior NFR and stuff. That came out really well.
Yeah, so that's exciting, and the growth of Big Top again. That was another God thing there. We prayed about that of, hey, how can we just not be on the road quite so much, because the hardest part of this job isn't doing the job. It's the road. Mm-hmm. It's the flights, it's the early mornings, it's all of those things. And I love everybody says, man, you're a rock star. Okay. Why don't you go on the road one weekend with me? Because if I have a Saturday event, I'm going to fly in Saturday. When Saturday night's over, I'm going to go back to the hotel room. I'm going to eat something as quick as I can, go to bed so I can get on a plane the next morning. That's my rock star life.
Your rock star life.
I mean, those 2 hours, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's the greatest job in the world, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But the road's what wears you out and makes you tired. But then again, the road is what drives all of us too. I mean, look at the places we get to fly to and drive to, and when you drive to Kalispell, Montana, and you look at that beauty, or even downtown Denver, or whatever it is, it's just every part of the country is different. And I'm now part of so many communities with the rodeos that we've worked, and my kids have grown up at every one of them, and so it's there's just nothing like rodeo. I don't know how to even explain it for a guy that didn't grow up in it. Like, I learned how to rodeo, but there's it's one of those deals where you always say, man, if it took it all away from me tomorrow, I'd be fine. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
rodeo's pretty special.
It is extremely special.
Yeah.
It comes up in conversation all the time. It's come up multiple times today and throughout this week. But when you're talking about the road and how it is one of the more challenging parts, when you're talking about a rodeo family and what makes our sport unique and how those bonds come together, a lot of that happens on the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Or before or after the performance and that sort of thing, and those relationships that turn into families essentially. When you're traveling with somebody in your close quarters and you might have to rely on somebody to help with the kids, whatever the case may be, and you come together as a rodeo family, that those are when the special moments are made.
Well, my goal is I want my kids to know that there's somebody in every state in the country that will help them if we have trouble. Every state. I want to know somebody everywhere. It was just like we were joking about the South Point. Our kids have grown up at the South Point. Okay. So I feel like if they got lost, they could ask somebody and they'd get back to the room. Like, no problem. So we were joking with them the other day, and I said, do you remember the guy that you need to find if you get lost at the South Point? And Statler goes, he wears really nice jackets. And I said, he does, but his name is Ryan. I said, and if you get lost at the South Point, you ask for Mr. Ryan. They will take you to Mr. Ryan, and Ryan will get you back to mom and dad. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then that's just, but my kids know. They know Ryan Grounding at the South Point. They know these people around. And so it's exciting. And like yesterday at the Resist All Rookie, we're sitting down, eating lunch, and Statler's eyes get real big, and because I took him with me, and I said, pretty cool who's sitting at this table. And he goes, well, it was Joe Beaver to my left. Was Damian Brennan was sitting right next to him. Rusty was sitting next to him. Then Tyler Wade and Trevor Brazil were all at our table. Man. And Statler's just starstruck, and I am too, because I still can't believe that I get to hang out with these guys.
Yeah.
Trevor
a lot of gold
shakes
buckles.
my hand and says, hey, Scott, how are you? Ty Murray, Cody Lambert, Tuff Hedeman. I know these guys. And those are all guys that I just dreamed of meeting someday, never thinking I would ever get to introduce them or say, hey, if I hand you my phone, can you take my picture? Just treat them like normal people. And so, man, I'm living a dream.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you've been doing such an amazing job, obviously throughout that 20+ year career here in the PRCA, and then obviously everything you've done with the PBR, and like I said, I think you got a lot more to go, and who knows, your legacy will hopefully have a lot of students, that will be going down that same path as well, and making sure that they're doing it the right way. Because I know that myself specifically, and my brother-in-law and a bunch of other announcers have, are so grateful for the help that you've given us, and so there's a lot to be said about that. But
this sport's just done so much for me that I want to give back a little bit back to it, and it's kind of the way that I know how right now. So I'm hoping it continues to grow, and I'm hoping that the February school is the biggest one yet. I just pray that we're able to touch guys one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Scott, I sure do appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us a little bit, and kind of catching up just on your career and what it takes to be such a great announcer and all those different nuances. And so you got a few more days left, though. You still got a ways to go here with the junior NFR.
Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple more days of junior NFR, and as you can tell, and then go home, do a little Christmas, get ready for Denver.
Perfect. Well, look forward to seeing you there. Look forward to seeing you in Denver. Scott, thank you so much for being here, man. But, well, everyone, that's going to do it for another episode here on the Woodshed with Cody Wood. Thank you so much for tuning in here to Equus Television. Make sure to follow us on Equus Radio Network, on Spotify, iTunes, all the different platforms, to continue to listen to such great guests here in the Woodshed. But, so if you wanting to be an announcer, music director, I cannot express it enough on how invaluable of experience that you will get if you go down to the Big Top Rodeo late February. Kansas City, is a great opportunity to sit here with Scott Grover, Jesse Knudsen on the music directing side. He's also a great announcer, but you got such a great opportunity to take advantage of and to take your skill set to the next level with Big Top Rodeo. But for right now, it is Thursday afternoon. We are just a little ways away from starting things off here with round number 7 of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and I cannot wait to get into another great night of this great rodeo and how it's starting to play out. Should be awfully interesting in a couple of different events to see, who's going to take that next step in becoming your next world champion. But right now, we'll see you all tomorrow morning with another great guest here on the Woodshed with Cody Wood.
If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know. Contact Cody Wood at cody@equustelevision.net. Thanks for listening, and join us every week right here on the Equus Radio Network.